My kitchen is one of the smallest rooms in my apartment, but it really is one of my favorites. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about this space and then turning it into a space that I love. So today I want to share with you my sort of tips about curating your kitchen to make it a space that you love spending time in. Now, I want to talk a little philosophically about something: art. We hear art, we know what artwork is, and I think we've been told, or we're taught, that artwork is something that you really value and you can value, and that it warrants investing in, like spending money on artwork. Well, I believe the same thing for the things that you see and touch the most every single day. To me, it's much more valuable to spend your hard-earned, saved money on artwork that's functional. And this is sort of a stretch here, but it really is a philosophy that I live by. I want you to think about your kitchen. You walk into your kitchen and what you do in it. Well, you cook in your kitchen if you like to cook. You have to wash dishes in your kitchen. You all food related things. You maybe make coffee or tea in your kitchen. But really, the kitchen is a workspace. It's a space that you're working in. And I want you to think about the thing that you touch the most in your kitchen. So I thought about that myself, and I thought, what is really the thing that I touch the most? It's this right here. It's the faucet. And I'm sure a lot of you will agree that the faucet is something that you're touching so much during the day. And this is something that I think people might not really think about or give a lot of thought to, because a faucet, usually when you move into a space, it's just there, especially if you're renting. But for a long time, for 6 years, I lived in this apartment with a kitchen that was just sort of here and kind of falling apart and crummy, with a faucet that was probably 40 bucks from the hardware store, and it was really dinky. And when I decided to do over this kitchen, the thing that I thought I'm going to really save my pennies and buy was a faucet that I loved, because I knew how much I would be using this. And I have to say, that was an assumption at the time, and 4 or 5 years later, that's how long this has been here. I have no regrets, and I fully encourage everyone to think about that, even if you're renting. Now, there's going to be some pushback about this, but when you're renting, you're in a space for a year, 2, 3, sometimes it turns into over 10, which is the case right here. Every single day, even for a year, that you walk into your kitchen and you touch and you use and you see this thing, it's adding value to your everyday. And that value should not be overlooked. Think about the willingness you'd have to spend on a painting that you loved. Great, you love a painting, you fall in love with it, you save your money, you buy it. Yes, there might be a return on your investment later, but a lot of people just buy art because they love it. Well, you're not looking at that painting as much as you're looking at your faucet, and you're definitely not touching that painting. You're touching this thing. This faucet is from a company called Perrin and Rowe in England. They're very well known for making very high quality faucets. It's solid brass, and you can really feel that. Like these knobs, when I touch them, they just feel like they're really on there. They have these little porcelain details. One says hot, one says cold, and then it says Mayfair because that's where the company is. So the faucet, that's sort of the main jewel, I think, of this kitchen area. The second thing really that I invested in was the countertop and the backsplash. Now that was like a real, now it's like a, that was something I really had to think about and call the landlord and ask about and save for and just do. Also because I knew I wanted this whole little space to feel just wonderful, and really the luster of this has not diminished after all these years, 3, 4, 5 years, 5 I think it's been. So those are the big things. And a lot of you probably will not be able to do that, like faucet, countertop, backsplash. If you can, do it. But if you're not, there are small things. And really, what I'm going to show you today are the small things that you can do. So let's start with the sink, since we're at the sink. We're at the sink. What do you do at the sink? You wash things. So the first thing that I thought of when I set up this sink, and when it had become a kind of a blank palette for my kitchen, was the soap dispenser. Now, let me show you this soap, how it come from the grocery store. It look like this. You think this look nice? I mean, I think this look really nice. This is ugly. You want this sitting on the beautiful countertop? No. This is not an advertisement for Dawn. So like, just like, look at that. You have seen my kitchen before. You know what it's like in here. Imagine if this lived on the countertop. Like, look at how everything changes. And I have gone to school for painting and drawing, and part of the thing that I have been taught to do is to really look at everything, and to look at everything critically. When I'm looking at something and deciding how to put it on a piece of paper, I am thinking about all these golden rules, like the rule of thirds and angles and the focal point and perspective. So I actually am doing that constantly in real life, in my own situation. And when I look around, I'm kind of looking with a painter's eye. This is not something that I want to see every day. Now look at this. Look how the whole thing has changed. It has gone from being completely sort of utilitarian, but also like, I can't really say anything good about this. It's a plastic bottle with a big logo on it. Who needs to know this? For 2 times the SUD, tri-power SUDs, what does that even mean? And what happens when you do this is it becomes neutral. This whole setup just becomes kind of neutral. So this is what I do. I found this bottle at like a thrift store, and I knew like, oh, this is a blown bottle, probably 19th century, it has bubbles in it, and it was like $2. And I happened to find a spigot that fit into it, and I actually have backups. I have backups of this glass bottle because sometimes they break. And someone, one of my close friends, who's probably going to watch this video, I won't say who it is because you know who you are, was washing dishes one day, which is I'm grateful for. It's very nice when your friends pitch in. And then she broke my glass bottle! But I'm just joking. I've broken so many things here myself, and I've broken things at her place. But it was so funny because she's not clumsy, and she said that. She's like, it just slipped and fell in the sink, and that's really not like her. But we always have a good laugh about how she broke my soap bottle. But I do have backups. Like whenever I see a glass bottle that I think this will fit into at a thrift store or yard sale, I'll buy it and I'll just tuck it away because inevitably this is going to break. So what I do is I pour the soap in there, I dilute it a little bit, and then I put my spigot in, and now we're set up for soap. So that's soap. Now we have accoutrements, and when you're doing your dishes, you probably have the things that you're washing your dishes with. All of those things are opportunities to bring in something that's sort of meaningful and beautiful in a utilitarian way. You know, like there are so many options for kitchen sponges. There's the ubiquitous sort of Scotch-Brite sponge that has the yellow underside and the green, more abrasive top side. I love that sponge, I have to say. I have loved that sponge. It's very functional. And for years, I had one here, but I always hid it. I kept it under here because I usually, when I'm washing, I'm using a dishcloth that my friend Deborah hand wove for me. That's what I do my main washing with. And this is a beautiful thing. So this is allowed to actually live outside. But that ugly yellow and green sponge is not allowed to live out here. So it goes in here, and when I needed to do the heavy scrubbing, I would take it out, use it, and put it back. Recently, I found something that I just thought was fantastic. There's this company called Full Circle. And I was actually, when I was visiting Guy Wolf and family in Bantam, Connecticut, I was at their local grocery store, which is a fancy, expensive grocery store, the Bantam Market. And the Bantam Market always has neat sort of kitchen things, so I always look. And these are what I found. So this company, Full Circle, their mandate is to make really high quality functional things that are sourced from sustainable materials. And these scour pads this one is made from coconut, recycled coconut husks, and this one is made from walnut shells and recycled water bottles. And they break down. So this is the coconut scour pad. And I love this thing. So I don't buy the 3M green and yellow sponges anymore, because when I need to do the scouring, I use this now. And look, you can see like the fibers in there. So this actually can live right there. I don't mind that at all. It looks nice. When I am looking for brushes, like any kind of sort of handled brush or any scrubbing brush, I look for brushes that have natural bristles, not plastic ones. And there really is a difference. It's a kind of subtle difference, but it's noticeable. So the brushes that I buy, I actually also store on the counter because I think they look nice. And they always have to have a wooden handle or a bamboo handle, not a plastic one. So this is a natural sort of, it's made from plant material, the bristles. And this is made from coconut. This scrubby is made from recycled coconut as well. But then these are actually made from, I think, goat hair. And these are bottle brushes that I bought in Munich at a church market. These might also be plant fiber, but they are natural. It's a natural material, and they work really well for cleaning out the insides of narrow spaces, like coffee things or my juicing machine. And then this scrubby has replacement heads. This was also from Munich, but I have seen them here. This has a bristle outer part, but then a metal, like an actual sort of coppery metal interior, and this is for really heavy duty scrubbing. So all these live in here. This thing was also picked up at a thrift store. This is a 19th century pressed glass spooner. It was used for holding spoons. Again, inexpensive, but pretty. And like, look what that looks like, just sort of sitting back there on the counter. I think it looks nice. Now, hand soap. I always have a bar of hand soap by the sink, and I love 19th century soap dishes. So this is actually an old one over here. That's an old soap dish, and this soap dish I made with Guy Wolf, like when I was visiting the pottery a little while ago. We made soap dishes, and I made this one, and he showed me how to marble it. And there's a video on my channel about marbling this soap dish. So I only made 4. I kept one of them. Sentimentally, like, I love now that there's a place for this at my sink, so I see it all the time and you use it all the time. But that's my sink setup. And as I said, I like really have thought about it. So I'll say that this has been years and years and years of slowly curating. When I go to a hardware store in another country, like Italy, when I was in Italy, I would go to the hardware store and I would just poke around. And this is something I encourage people to do. When you're on a trip in a foreign country, Spain, the Caribbean, wherever, other parts of the world, and you want to bring back a souvenir, it's very nice to bring back a souvenir that you're actually going to touch and use all the time. One of those things that you will find in other countries that you don't really find here that often, I have found, are towels. So I actually don't have any new towels. Mine are vintage or hand-woven by my friend Deborah. But this is a linen towel. It's pure linen, and it's a vintage towel. Like it was woven probably by hand in the early 19th century. This was actually sent to me by a viewer, someone named David Banco, who acquired this towel, and then he hand embroidered my initials onto it. And I was just thrilled to receive this. But I want to show you something. Look at how this looks when it's just tossed off to the side there. Like, this to me looks like a painting. And it's reminiscent of another era, because the towel genuinely comes from another era. So aesthetically, it conjures up something old world. But I want to talk about another aspect of this. Towels should be made from 100% natural fiber. Your kitchen towels should be made from 100% cotton or 100% linen. And if you're unsure, look at the label. Now, the great thing about walking into a hardware store in Italy or France and some specialty stores here in the US that are kind of high-end is they're now carrying towels that are linen, pure linen. And you can look, in Germany as well, all over Germany, look at the label and pull out your phone and translate it if it's in another language. Like in Germany, it's linen. In France, it's lin, L-I-N. And translate it to find out what it is. Because the purpose of this towel is to absorb moisture. And when it's not 100% natural fiber, or worse, when it's just synthetic, like a polyester towel, which you will find if you're not really thinking about it, you put that in your kitchen, you go to use it, and you're wiping things, and it's not really effectively drying anything. It's just kind of moving the water around. It's not absorbing the water. So the thing about the origin of these things is they came from a practical place. These were made because they needed to serve a function. And people took pride in making things in their best version. Linen absorbs 10 times its own weight in moisture. So it is actually the best thing to use for drying anything. Linen will also doesn't really stick to things like bread dough. So if you're like traditionally when loaves of bread were rising, they would cover them. They would leave the bread loaves rising. They would dust them with flour, and then they would cover them with a linen towel because the linen won't stick to the bread. So a linen towel is, I would say, an essential thing to have in the kitchen, not just because it's functional, but because it's also just very beautiful when it's just sitting there. These are small things, and a linen towel does not cost anywhere near as much as a painting. But I would say one should think more about their towel in their kitchen than a painting on the wall, because this really has the power to bring you joy on a regular basis. And it's a simple, beautiful thing. Everybody uses a towel in the kitchen, so think about your towel. And look, part of the fun about it is the hunt. Look locally, but look when you're traveling, and you bring back something and you use your towel, and you'll always think of your trip. So, towels. Now, I want to talk about this right here, my fridge. So the fridge, we're always sort of going into the fridge for things. You can curate your fridge. This is a bit of an obsession of mine, like what the inside of my fridge looks like. It's a really small fridge. So I don't pack it full of stuff. I usually grocery shop once a day. When I'm like walking out to the gym or whatever, I'll buy my groceries for the day for dinner, and then I'll cook that evening. So I don't store a lot in here, but I do think about what it's going to look like, because I'm opening it up and I'm looking at things. So I want to pull out a few things. I want to pull these out. I'm going to pull this out. Okay. What else? This. Let's do this. Okay, so there are some what I would consider ugly things in there. Like let's talk about the ugly things. I don't think this is pretty. I'm not proud of what this looks like, but I do like this stuff. So that lives in the door. That does not, it's not in my eye line. I put it in the door. But every now and then I kind of splurge and I buy the expensive milk because of what this looks like. Look at this beautiful milk bottle. I mean, hats off to this company that has taken the time and the effort to put their milk in bottles. This milk is also delicious. I don't think it's homogenized because the cream does rise to the surface. So when you open it up, you have to take a butter knife, scoop the cream out, and then mix this. It also goes off very quickly. Like once you open this up, it'll last maybe 4 days. But every time I buy this milk, I feel like I'm splurging. Like, ooh, I'm gonna buy the milk in the glass bottle. And then when I open my fridge and I see that, it just makes me happy. Like seeing this in my fridge. It's also like the other stuff, it's reminiscent of another time. Like when I watch old movies from the 30s, I just, while stuff is going on, like, listen here, see, I told you to stop that gabbing or I'm gonna leave. You got it? Like, and then they open up the fridge. I'm like, ooh, look at the fridge. It's like, look what that looks like. I like evoking that. I like bringing that into my life because this apartment is from 1921. From the 20s, you see? Look at the getaway sticks on that one. So when I open my fridge and pull out the milk bottle, it's just like there's something to that. It's fun. And this is, as I said, this is not something that I can afford to do all the time for milk. But when I do it, it's partly because it's beautiful. Let's put the milk back in the fridge before it goes off. All that gabbing. Okay, eggs. I found these little porcelain or clay ceramic things when I redid my kitchen. I think they were like $6. I can't remember where they were from. But I got 2 of them so that I could house 12 eggs. And what I do when I buy eggs, immediately I bring them home, I transfer the eggs from the carton, which is plastic or paper, usually it's paper, to these. And this is how I see my eggs in the fridge. And I just think that that's pretty. It looks nice. And like, look what that looks like sitting on the counter too, when I take the eggs out and put them on the counter. Small little details. Curating. Now, to a very vain person, packaging counts. So when I'm going down the mustard aisle and I have to choose mustard, well, the first thing I actually look for is what's on sale, because there's always something on sale. But I actually will not buy mustard, even if another brand is on sale, and do without it until my brand is on sale. Because I think that this mustard is going to live in the fridge for like a year. That's how long it takes me, living alone, to go through a thing of mustard. So this is what I think about. I am going to have to look at this thing for a year every time I open my fridge. If I am going to have to look at this thing for a year, I would rather spend $6 more, 10, even 10. I'd rather spend $10 more, truly, on mustard because I'm going to see this. And in my pretty little fridge, that's warranted. Now, this doesn't even cost $10, but I just think that having this sit on the shelf, especially on the front shelf because it's warranted, like, as I said, every time I open the fridge, I see it and it looks nice. I like seeing that. The other thing I like to do in the fridge is to kind of line the shelves or put things on the shelves to house certain things. So you might have noticed that the milk container is not sitting directly on the shelf. It's in an enamel tray, and some of the enamel is new. Like I found enamel actually at the art supply store at Blick. They have new enamel trays for doing like painting or printmaking. But much of the enamel in there is vintage, and I found it on my thrifting or antiquing hunts. I only buy enamel when it's in perfect condition, when it isn't chipped or cracked, because if it's chipped or cracked and the metal underneath is exposed, it'll start to rust. So what I do when I go to a place is I see enamel, and the first thing that happens is I go, oh, enamel! And then I go over to it and I pick up every piece and I analyze. I look at all of it, especially the white parts, to see if there's any sort of nicks or cracks or chips. And on this piece that I acquired recently, there wasn't. So I really like to use this stuff because, like, if you're putting down milk and there's potentially like something on the milk jar, I would rather that be on a tray that I can just take over to the sink and wash. It also just looks nice in the fridge. Like, look how that looks. This I have blueberries in right now. Look at this thing. This is another piece of enamel with the actual lid. That's not a rust thing. That's a bit of curry leaf, I think. And this houses my green chilies. So that's the other thing I do. When I bring home produce that's in a plastic package, these came in a little plastic clamshell from the Korean store, I do not keep them in the ugly plastic container in the fridge, because every time I go to take green chilies out to cook my curry, I would have to open up that hideous plastic container. But if I transfer them to this thing, every time I need curry leaves and go like this, even the sound, it's so much nicer. Okay, right? Now, I have saved one of my transfers for you to witness. In here, I have some limes. Now, I wouldn't say that this is hideous, but it's not really as nice as it could be. So one of the things I do, if I have room in the fridge, and there is some room on the shelves in the fridge, is I would transfer. I would just take my limes, or some kind of produce, and I do this. I put them in a bowl, and then I put the bowl in the fridge. And that just, like that beautiful old antique yellowware bowl, it's like a still life. It's like a little still life in the fridge. Look, like eggs, the milk bottle, the limes. It's pretty. So these are really the small things that I do sort of naturally now, without even spending too much time thinking about them. I know that this has taken me a long time to relay all of this to you. I don't want you to feel like this is an effort on your part, but I would like to encourage all of you to start thinking about these small details in this way. Because even if you're running around like crazy with the job and the kids and the activities, these small things will very subtly contribute to your everyday experience in your kitchen when you have to do the dishes or when you have to make dinner. It'll make those tasks nicer. And I can say that genuinely from my experience. I live this way now. It's second nature, but I think that there's the potential for everybody to bring some of this into their lives. Thanks for watching.